Wow. I don't even know you, and I think I might cry up here. Jesus. Whew. Okay. That song, good God. Oh, God. When am I going to see you again? Never even seen you before. And that feeling, those tears, that emotion, that grief, is evidence of your love, of your heart's capacity to feel. And so when you go home today, and when you're alone in your room, and you weep, know that that is the love that you have created and found together. And it's so powerful that someone who doesn't even know you can feel it. So thank you. Good luck, that's all I got, okay. I think I got more, I don't know, we'll see. I thought I might invoke two of the guides that have been walking with you over the course of your time here. Invisibly, or maybe apparently, easy to see. Truth and courage. You're probably like, all right, truth and courage, man. I've heard this a million times before, all right? But sometimes I think it's worthy to explore something we think we know and have the humility to say, hey, maybe I actually don't know you, Dad, or don't know you, Mom. Who actually are you? So truth and courage, these companions who've been with you from day one and who will be with you throughout the course of your entire lives. Who are they? Who are these guides? You can ask them questions. You can wake up in the morning and say, okay, truth, who are you today? Teach me your ways. Show me who you are. And in asking that question, truth will be near. You can say, courage, where have you been, man? I want to know who you are. Show me your face. Is your face mine? You can be in relationship with truth and courage in this way. And I urge you to. Because again, when you find yourself alone, and you will, it is in the asking of those questions that you will find solace and solidarity. So truth. What is truth? Before I was invited to speak here, and before I knew that truth and courage was the motto of this community, I was asking questions about it myself. And I've found that in exploring what something means, or in trying to understand somebody, someone, it's useful to go to the origins of who they are and how they came to be, the story that made them. And so I bought an etymological dictionary to find out a little bit about truth. And those kinds of dictionaries will tell you those stories, where these words came from. I looked up truth and true, and apparently both of those words have roots in Old English, with a word in Old English that is synonymous with trustworthy. Trustworthy. So back in the day, in good old England, when people were talking about truth and being true, they were talking about being trustworthy. And so for me, the next question came, okay, well, I'm interested in truth. I want to be true. And if truth and being true has something to do with being trustworthy, what does it mean to become trustworthy? And to whom would I devote that trustworthiness? This is a question I want to offer you to walk with as your journey continues. What does it mean to be trustworthy in this moment with this person, whoever's there with you? Okay, time for a little story. When I graduated, I was burning with questions. Namely, the question, who am I actually? Who actually am I? And who are we as a country together? And I had discussed these things in many classrooms, but I wanted a boots on the ground, face-to-face confrontation with the exploration of that question. And I had a lot of tuition debt and not too much money, and as Brad kindly informed you, I was fired. So without a fellowship or a grad school program or any plan whatsoever, but with those burning questions, this thought floated across my mind. What if I just walked out the back door and didn't stop? And what if I saw every moment as a classroom worthy of my trust? What if I saw every person as a teacher worthy of my questions? And what if I saw them that way? Saw them in the way that I would see a revered professor or a grandparent or the Pope or something, someone who I really trusted. Well, maybe not, I don't know. What if I saw everyone this way? As having lived something that could deeply inform my exploration in answering these questions. And so that's exactly what I did, not knowing what would happen, having no clue if I would even survive. I packed a backpack full of camping gear. I packed a mandolin, an audio recorder, and I printed a sign that said, "Walking to Listen," and I got it laminated at Staples. And I figured that would make me legit, And I set out. I walked out the back door, had no idea what was going to happen, but I had the sincerity of my question. I had the humility to admit I didn't know the full picture. And I had a willingness and an audacity and maybe even a foolishness to trust radically and completely. Which isn't to be naive or stupid. I mean, you still have to protect yourself and take care of yourself. But it was my attempt not to live in a world of fear. So I started walking. And a mile down the road, this car pulls over on the side. And this guy gets out. And I'm thinking, all right, great. First interaction. First teacher. Maybe this is like, the Pope or whatever. Like, this is the guy who's going to let me know what's up. And who knows? Maybe he'll tell me what I'm looking for, and I won't have to walk across America. So this guy comes closer, and I realize, my God, it's Bob. My mom's landlord. I'm like, Bob? Is it you? Are you the one I've been looking for, Bob? Do you have the answers? Bob used to be a police officer in Philadelphia. Very gruff man. We'd pass each other on the lawn sometimes, thinking, all right, Bob, maybe it's Bob. Say, hey, Bob, what a coincidence. He goes, it's not a coincidence. Your mom's a wreck back at the house. I'm like, Bob, I know. I'm a wreck, man. I need a pep talk right now. What are you doing, Bob? And he goes, you don't have to do this. And I didn't realize it at the time, but there was a way in which he was absolutely correct. I did not have to do that. There was a part of me that believed I had to do something out of the ordinary to be extraordinary. I had to do something drastic to ensure that I was worthy of my life. And having done something pretty ridiculous and drastic, I realized that I never had to walk 4,000 miles to be worthy of my space here. I never had to do that to belong, and neither do you. You don't have to do anything. That's not exactly the message you've probably been radiated with in this school and in this culture. Let me try to specify what I'm saying. You don't have to do anything to increase your value. Your value is immeasurable and cannot be increased. You're perfect. I mean, just let this sink in for a second. You're perfect. You're worthy. You're enough. And there's nothing you can do to become better. You're already best, okay? And there's also nothing you can do to mess it up. Your value is undiminishable, okay? Okay, so that being said, you do have a lot to do. There is much work to be done, much learning to be done, many mistakes to be made. And that was the part where Bob was wrong. I needed to go on this walk to learn what I just shared with you. And each one of you is already on your own walk. You can't escape it. Thank God. So don't worry as you work. Don't run the 50-mile trail because you think you got to prove something. Do it because of the question. And it sounds like you did. Crazy, crazy people. What are you going to do, walk across America next? It sounds like you might. Don't read my book. So I said, Bob, I am going to do this. I felt like I had to apologize. I'm sorry, okay? And he goes, well, it can be 6 months or it can be 6 hours. He goes, you got a knife? I said, yeah. He goes, well, here, take another one. And he gives me a huge knife, a sword. Where am I going to put this? And then he leans in and he goes, don't trust anybody. You laugh. I'm thinking, what? I'm thinking, Bob, that's kind of the whole point. I'm walking to listen. That's what I'm doing here. And how can I expect people to entrust me with their hearts? Because that's what I was interested in. I was less interested in opinions and ideas about things. I wanted to know about their frailties and fragilities and fallibilities and their beauty and how their hearts had been broken. I wanted to hear the song inside them. And that stuff's tender. That stuff's the tears, you know? And how could I expect them to entrust me with that if I wasn't first going to trust them? And that's the predicament most of us find ourselves in. It's scary to trust. Who's going to take the first step? And remember where this talk started. Truth. Trustworthiness. Learning what it means to become trustworthy is a gateway into truth. Is a way of catalyzing truth between yourself and another person. Don't wait for them to trust you. Who's going to take the first step? I was trying to do this on my walk, trying to take this step into trust. And time again, I was challenged. And not 2 hours after I left Bob, feeling the grief of the end of my life as I knew it, grief that might be present here today, grief that is love and gratitude for what has been. I saw on the outskirts of town 4 men up ahead. And there was this sort of industrial district over here and a forest over here, and there was no one around, no one to hear me scream if something bad happened. And I was far away enough from home now to feel afraid. And I come upon these guys, and they're 4 Latino men, and they look homeless, and they give me this weird look. But you got to keep in mind, I look pretty weird. I was wearing a huge backpack. I had an American flag on one side, an Earth flag on another, and a walking to listen sign. And I was wearing a cowboy hat for some reason, because I just thought that's what you do when you go on a big journey. I should have been in the Alaskan wilderness, but I was in the suburbs of Philadelphia. And so, of course, these guys gave me a weird look, you know? They're like, what is this? And I sort of looked at them, deer in headlights. And they go, what are you doing? Which was a fair question. And I said, well, I'm Andrew. I'm walking across America, listening to people's stories, which to me sounded ridiculous because I'd been walking for 6 or 7 miles at that point. And am I even allowed to say I'm walking across America? At what point does that become okay? I showed them my sign. I was like, see, I swear to God, it's got it laminated at Staples. It's for real. And they didn't look convinced. They looked at each other and said something to each other in Spanish. The one guy said something to the other. And the other guy started rummaging around in a big plastic bin. And I'm thinking, maybe it's time to go. Again, you laugh. I'm like, Jesus. And this guy pulls out a big package of cookies and a sleeve of apple juice boxes. And he says, come on, come sit with us for a little bit. And I did. And I took out my mandolin and played a song for them. And we had this holy communion of apple juice and cookies. And then Martin took out some vodka and he's passing that around. I'm just like, what world am I living in? I'll tell you what world I was living in. I was living in the world that becomes possible when you commit yourself to becoming trustworthy. And when you find within yourself the willingness and the ability to listen first, which is a way to truth. And Martin leaned into me, the guy with the vodka. And he goes, you got a lot of courage to be doing this, man. And here we come to courage, your second companion, who will be with you until the day of your death, if you want it to be so. And remember, it's only as far away as the asking of a question. So courage, who are you right now? Help me out. Courage is near when you speak to courage in this way. Okay, back to the etymological dictionary. Courage, apparently, its Latin root is cor, which means heart. So this word that has become so associated much of the time with this sort of machismo, you shall not go gently into that dark night type of warfare, actually has everything to do with the heart. And what does the heart have to do with when we speak of it poetically? It has to do with love. So courage has something to do with love. This is your companion. Courage has something to do with living in that world of love as opposed to living in whatever the alternative might be. So we're sitting there, eating and drinking apple juice. And it starts to rain. I swear to God. I worked it out. I know a guy. Just got lucky. Dumb luck. And the three guys rush off. And Martin, before he leaves, says, hey, come with us. We'll take you out of the rain. And I'm feeling the big knife in my pocket. And I'm hearing Bob's words, don't trust anybody. Ooh. And I'm thinking, I don't want to live in that world of fear. I don't want to be dumb, but this feels safe. I want to see what happens. So I followed him into the field, through the woods, and into a clearing behind a strip mall that I had been to 1,000,000 times before, many times, and had no idea there was this whole other world just beyond the facade of this building. And each man had a little shack made of wood pallets and blue tarps, and Martin invited me into his and offered me dry clothes. And when I said I didn't need them, he took off his own clothes and put them on. And I was thinking, what would you have done if I had taken your clothes, if I had said yes? And we just sat there, and I mostly listened. And we told each other the stories of our lives and experienced something like love. What is love? You get to answer that with your life. So the rain finally stopped, and we walked outside. And Martin shook my hand, and he looked me in the eyes. And he said, good luck out there, and God bless. And always sleep with a knife by your side. I kid you not. And I thought, man, I think you and Bob would get along. You might not think it at first, but give it a chance. I think you would. And that was day 1, hour 2 of what became a year-long walk across America. And this is day 1, maybe 2 now, of this new phase in your walk, in your journey. I want you to look around at each other right now. Make eye contact. Look at each other. All of you too. I want you to look around. There we go. Looking at each other. Who we got. And I want you to remember this. I want you to remember the people who are sitting to your left and right, who are behind you and in front of you, and who may be above you and below you. And remember that as you walk with truth and courage, and as you learn and grow, and as your heart breaks and heals, you're not doing it just for you. You're doing it for the people you're sitting with right now, and for the ones who came before you, and for the ones who will come after. You're walking for me. I felt it when you sang the song, when I almost burst into tears, for crying out loud. You're walking for us. So walk in beauty, my brothers and sisters. Walk in truth and courage. And have fun. Thank you.